The last thing I want to hear when I'm not working is drum and bass, to be honest with you. There's so many other good forms of music out there. I think it's just ignorant, basically, you know. I know, it's like in the car, on the stereo, on my iPod, whatever, the last thing in there is drum and bass because there's so many good forms of music. It's like I need to get away from it. I live drum and bass permanently. So when I'm not doing drum and bass, I like to be doing other things. And there's so many other influences you can take from other forms of music that the last thing I need to be doing is just permanently listen to drum and bass. It just does your head in, you know. It's the way it is.
Most of the people here are very open to the other people's styles. But when it comes to the club scene, drum and bass and house are more or less like cat and mouse. I mean, I'm not going to rhyme here, but...
MC.
Do you agree?
No. Personally, no. In an ideal world, as a DJ, you should be able to go out and basically play a bit of everything, but because over time the entire scene has got so fragmented into different sections, there's like 1 million types of house music, there's 3 or 4 types of drum and bass now, and you know, I know for a fact that I can't go and play half an hour of house music in the middle of my set if it's a drum and bass set. So I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but it's a shame because I like to play all kinds of music and I like all kinds of music. But for me, if I'm getting booked as a drum and bass DJ. So usually the crowd want to hear me play drum and bass, which I don't mind doing because I love it, you know. But at certain points where I'd love to say that, let's drop tempo for half an hour and let's go do something different. And to be honest with you, I've been doing that a little bit quite recently. In fact, on Saturday, I played for nearly 6 hours at this club in where was I? Slovenia, and half an hour, just played just some random stuff, and it was wicked. But I don't like to separate personally. With my job, I have to, but it's not something I like doing. Definitely not. If that answers your question.
Okay, so you might already have come to a point in your life where you have a more mature
yes.
perspective on music.
Yes.
But now maybe it's even impossible, or not even. We should not even try to kind of settle those fights, because in a way fights between different styles of youth culture have always been a strong engine and a fuel. Like you had this historically between the mods and the rockers, between the punks and the hippies, between the hip-hop guys and the rest of the world. So maybe we need those fights. What do you think about this?
Yes and no again. I think it's really personal, to be honest with you. And my favourite types of DJ are the DJs that are music related, not necessarily like the greatest mixers or the greatest technicians, but play good music. So I'd like to go out and hear somebody, a la Giles Peterson or whatever, who are going to play a good cross section of music from whatever style to whatever. So for me, no, you know. But when I was 20, I wanted to go out and hear Groove Rider. I didn't want to hear anything else. I want to hear Cole Cox. I didn't want to hear anything else, you know. So I think as you get older, maybe that changes, you know. You
have probably already reached a status as a DJ where you can allow yourself to play diverse styles in one DJ set. But I think that's a status that you have to fight for, isn't it? Yes.
I've only just started doing it. I don't know, just because I feel like I want to. I just like to push myself and sort of challenge myself, but at the same time, I've got a need to play this music. I think it's good music, so I want more people to hear it, you know what I mean? So I know at certain gigs I can't do it. You can tell by just crowd reactions or just general vibes that you're just not going to be able to do it. But when I see the opportunity to do it, it might be 3 hours into a set, I'll have a go, you know. And if it doesn't work, fine, we can quite. My perspective on DJing is everything's like, if you feel like you can take a chance, then take it. Because you should know in your record box somewhere there will be 2 or 3 tunes that if you're in trouble, they can quite easily get you back out and get your dance floor full again, you know what I mean? As long as you kind of know that, then why not take a chance, you know what I mean? People give you more respect for that, I think, you know what I mean? And as a DJ, personally, I want to get... There's 2 main things. It's pleasing the crowd and pleasing yourself, and it's trying to find that happy medium, you know? And it's not the hardest thing in the world to go into a club and say, right, okay, we're going to rinse this one out and just play every big track, and you're obviously going to get a reaction. But I can't do that because I just feel like I've sold myself cheap, you know what I mean? There's so many good types of music out there, there's so many good tunes out there. Try and fit them in, you know what I mean? So I can walk out happy and the crowd can walk out happy.
Now, one of your partners is living in Vienna, the city where I come from.
Yeah, DK.
DK, who had recently a big hit with Barcelona.
Yeah.
And he's hosting this radio show that I'm in charge of once in a month. And there again, you know, you have this, these reactions from the people that on the last Friday of the month, when it's drum and bass, they are screaming with joy.
Yeah.
And then the next week, when we would play deep house, you know, they would all insult us, you know, sending mails like, hey, why do you play this whack shit now? You know, why can't you play drum and bass again? So it's still a long way to go. Or maybe, you know, we will never be there, you know, that people kind of accept different styles from an early age. Maybe that's really just about growing older.
I think it is.
But then you have the other problem.
Once
they get older, they don't dance anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we did a party in London, a specific party for our label, and it was 60% like guest lists and journalists and industry types, and basically it was like really hard to DJ there to try and get a vibe because everybody's just stood around talking, kind of saying they're enjoying themselves, saying that was a wicked night at the end of the night, but there's basically just no reaction all night on the dance floor because they were just stood there having a drink and talking, you know, and it was just like, it was a hard concept for me to get my head around, but I still enjoyed it, you know, but I think that's what happens, you know. The older you get, like, it is a little bit, you sort of get on the dance floor, you know what I mean? I'm the same. I go out. It's very rare you'll see me on the dance floor, you know. But I will sort of be really into the music. I'll just get in the corner and nod my head. It's
easy to understand that musicians are always very unhappy when journalists or people from outside come along with definitions of that specific genre. Like lately they referred to your type of music as liquid drum and bass.
Liquid funk. I hate that word. I don't know. I don't know. People sort of refer to the music that I make just because it's got a little bit of musical content as liquid funk. Marcus Intalex is a liquid funk DJ. What is liquid funk? You know, I don't understand.
Back in the days when jungle originated, there was this also very unhappy term of intelligent jungle for the work of people like LTJ Bookham, Alex Reese, the Wax Doctor, as opposed to the wild rave style drum and bass. Yeah,
which I know kind of really upset a lot of producers that didn't make intelligent drum and bass. It's like, what are we, stupid? You know what I mean? What are we? You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's just the way that people are just quick to jump on something and try and give it a name. Just for what reason? I don't. You know what I mean? Maybe for marketing reasons. It's not like the person who invents intelligent drum and bass is sat at home. He's just read his dictionary. He's gone into the studio. I was like, right, let's make the most intelligent music I've ever made. You know what I mean? What? You know what I mean? What was I doing? Was I in the bath and decided to make liquid? You know what I mean? I don't get it. You know what I mean? What? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Okay, but then there is the need, of course, of people to communicate about music, and then you need words and terms, you know. When I went to London I tried to find out, like, where is the drum and bass scene happening. Of course, I went to the Blue Note, and it was a mind-blowing experience, because you didn't need your ears to hear the music. You could feel it with your legs and your lungs.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
If you would put a big glass of beer on one of the speakers, it would
it would fall off. It'd be off, basically. Yeah.
And the trousers would move in the wind of the speakers. Lovely, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a very small place in the center of London.
Yeah.
And it was frequented by the kind of brains, you know, of the scene. And then
yeah, it was a real industry place, you know, where everybody from the industry would go down because they wanted to hear the new music.
At the same time, though, you had this huge pirate radio scene, and those big rave parties where you would have like 3,000 people.
Yeah, the whole thing was massive, yeah.
But that was a different scene, those rave parties.
It always has been, you know. I mean, you'd probably get the same DJs that would play at both events, but for me, it was a personal thing. I had to be where the latest music was. That's what's the main thing that's excited me about drum and bass, is the next thing, you know, going to hear music that I have gone to hear DJs play music that the tracks have just been made literally in the same couple of days, you know, and just the latest thing, and it's just like I want to be blinded by science basically, and that's at the time that's what it was doing, you know. It was like, wow, how the hell has he done that? What's he done? You know what I mean? And just to get excited by something that it's just like you can't even work it out. Well, what the hell? Where's that come from? You know what I mean? It was just really exciting. That was possibly drum and bass's most exciting moment, I would say. You know, just period. That club was just like ridiculous, and it's not Metalheadz' fault that they've gone to other clubs and tried other clubs, and I just think moments in time, that was just a specific moment in time where it could not be bettered by Metalheadz. That was just perfect for Metalheadz.
The brilliant thing about the Blue Note was also that apparently they understood how a sound system should look like to perform that kind of music.
Yeah, I mean,
because that was the problem when the same DJs were playing out on the continent.
Yeah,
they came to clubs in let's say Germany or Denmark or wherever.
Yeah,
the sound engineers and the sound design was just not made to play those records.
Yeah,
and they would like kill your ears with the trebles and the mid range, and there wasn't enough bass.
Yeah, I mean, when I was promoting in Manchester, and it was just like trying to find a club that had a good enough sound system was basically, it's impossible. At the time, it was like so difficult just to get people to understand that it's got to be this loud, it's got to be this clear, it's got to be this precise. And we tried hiring things in and getting people to do things, and it was never right, really. I was never sort of satisfied. And the time we brought Metalheadz up to Manchester, and they brought their sound guys up, it was just like, what, this is perfect. It's ridiculous. And I don't think they'd even had the sound on like 40%. It's like we could turn it a hell of a lot louder if you want to, and you could hear it down the street. It was ridiculous, you know what I mean? It was so loud, but it was just crystal clear, you know. And it's like one of the most important things, especially as a DJ, if you know you've got a good sound and a good setup, playing is just so much easier. It's just like a lot less stressful, you know what I mean? It's just, you know exactly where you stand, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're on a sound system, you've got to keep tweaking, and it's not powerful enough, or it's just not clear, you know what I mean? It just makes your job a lot harder, I think, you know what I mean? So to put the environment for the DJ to get that right, you're going to get a better night out of it, and the night was just ridiculous, you know what I mean? It was off the hook. It was amazing.
Now, when you were participating in these magic moments, what was your first wish? To become a DJ? So to play this music or to produce that kind of music? Well,
I was a DJ at the time, but for reasons I'll probably go into later when we talk about sort of what I was doing, I wasn't too busy as a DJ. So yes, to be able to play at the Blue Note was like amazing, but at the time I was just getting into production, and there was like certain DJs. There was Groove Rider, there was Doc Scott, and there was Fabio. And these three DJs, my biggest wish was to have a tune that I made in their record box and maybe go to Blue Note and hear it out. And that's basically what I wanted to do. So basically that's why I was down there all the time, studying it, getting experience, getting just influence, you know what I mean? And then taking it back home and going to the studio and failing miserably, to be honest with you, you know. I don't think we ever actually got a track played at Blue Note, which is a bit of a shame, but that's just, it was a bad few years for us in the studio, basically.
Now, when we talk about drum and bass, in that time, as you said, the kick was to come along with new noises, new forms of beats, you know.
Yeah.
There was always this element of something completely new and unheard before.
Yeah, that was the exciting thing about it, to be honest with you.
Does this still exist today? The possibility of creating things that have never been heard before?
It's, how do I say this? It's not as exciting as it was. Just because, I don't know, it's obviously going to go through cycles, and you can't keep inventing and being at the forefront all the time, you know what I mean? It can't be that good all the time, you know what I mean? And I've always known that it goes up and down. You have months, especially because I'm DJing so much now, you have months where you probably get 8 tunes in 1 month that are just like, wow. And then in a month later, you get nothing. And then a month later you'll get 2, and 2 of these, and one of these tunes will just be so different, you know what I mean, that it'll just start to create a new sound, you know what I mean, and it just goes up and down.
Now when you produce a track, aren't you in this split position where you have to decide if it's more for the dance floor or more for the listening people? Like, let's say if the track is has to be very functional, needs that certain rave signals, or if you put more melody, is it like a compromise for you, or how do you deal with that?
Any successful drum and bass tune, will have to come from the dance floor. Will not get heard basically if certain DJs aren't playing it. People would not know what it is because nobody's playing it. So the first and foremost thing is arranging it and making it appeal to a dance floor. Certain ways you can do that. It's mainly, for me, it's mainly creating the beats and the bass line. That's the dance floor element. If you get that right to an extent, you can then put whatever you want on the top of it. So that's what we choose to do. We choose to look for a dance floor element with the drums and the bass and get that as tough and as sort of dance floor friendly as possible, without being cheesy or anything, you know, just getting it right. And then we do a more musical thing on the top, and other people will do a harder thing on the top, but it will still have the element of where the beats and the bass have got to have the impact. The arrangement has kind of got to be arranged in a way that it will have an impact on the dance floor, for DJs to play it, for people to hear it, for them want to buy it or whatever, you know what I mean, for them to like it. If it don't get played out if it doesn't really get played out, then it's hard to create a vibe on a tune, because of the way the industry's worked. It's evolved around certain DJs being like the DJs people want to go and hear and talk about on the internet and listen to mixes on the internet. And if they're the DJs that are playing that music and they're playing your music, then your music stands a better chance of being successful. And I'm quite sure that 99% of the producers have got that in mind. I think you need to have that in mind, you know what I mean? It's sometimes a shame, because it sort of limits the different directions the music can go in. But that's drum and bass. It's still a form of rave music, you know? It's still attracting a lot of younger people than myself, you know what I mean? And I'm always aware of that, you know? Mm-hmm. And basically, it's a dance floor music. It's an energy music, you know what I mean? So you can't really take that away from that, you know? Mm-hmm.
You obviously start with the beats and the bass line.
Yeah.
And then the melody and the sweet things come on top. It's like the cream on a cake then.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I've got a sample, I hear a sample, I'm like, that'll maybe give me an idea for a tune. So I'll have this sample, but I'll probably put it to one side and try and create some beats first. I think it's easier to put sounds to beats than beats to sounds. I really do. I just find that's the way we work. We find it easier to do that. So we'll experiment with beats first and get kind of a rhythm that we like, and then I'll start playing the sounds on the top, adding a few samples, and then maybe after that the bass line comes. I think
you're certainly right that it's surely easier to have the beats and then put the voice on top.
Yeah.
But for example, our Austrian producers Kruder and M.I.S.T, they had their biggest successes with remixes, where they had thrown away everything. They had just a vocal, and then tried to recreate a whole new sound structure around the vocal.
That is really difficult. It is. We've tried to do that, and basically we're not. I mean, I'm not at all musical. I've got no music knowledge of how to play. I've never been taught anything, so it's all kind of, that's the ability to be able to make music is these days, is that you don't actually need any musical ability to do it. It's just over years of learning what goes with what and what keys sound good with whatever, and just as you get more and more into it, you can sort of learn how to tune samples in and stuff. It's like when I first started, it's like, that's out of key, I know it's out of key, but what do I do? You know what I mean? It's like I know what to do now. And it's just an experience thing. It's, we work in the best, in the way it's going to work better for us, you know. And sometimes I can sit and write sort of a nice sort of string pattern and feed sort of samples in and out before I do the beats. Then it'll come to the beats, and I'm just like, the beats are spoiling it, you know. So them kind of tracks for us, they never get finished. They never get finished, you know. So when we know we've got to make something, we sort of sit down and work on the beats first, get the vibe with the beats, and then if there's a couple of samples we've got in mind, we'll fit them in. We'll play samples over the top of them, and if they work, or I'll sit on the keys and play some keys over the top and see what happens. And then the last thing basically is the bass line, and then basically you've got the groove there, the 8-bar loop that you need. And basically drum and bass is very much like an 8-bar loop thing where it is repeated. But it's a case of just keeping it interesting.
Okay, maybe let's listen to another track that takes no musical ability to create.
Takes no music ability.
No, it's just quoting you.
That was basically what happened when we first did a track with this guy, High Contrast. If you know drum and bass, you know who he is. He's like an avid record collector, has like millions of samples, and basically what he did the first time and what he's done this time is just brought us a collection of samples, played them to us, and I've just gone, yeah, and we'll probably get like 20, 30 samples, and when we sort of know what samples we might want to use, we'll try a few things like maybe a recycle, one of the loops, or just look for little sounds or whatever. Then we'll do some beats, and then we'll try and get all the sounds to fit, and it's like with this is like the main sort of disco-y kind of riff comes from this. What we did with that is just basically thought that sounds interesting. We recycled it, and we actually had it playing back the way it was, and then we just thought that's a little bit sort of a bit too cheesy or whatever, so we just found certain keys from where we'd recycled it and just created a whole new loop, which is exactly what we did with 3 AM. And then basically what I try and sort of do with the music we make is encompass the sound of these samples with actual synths and keyboards or whatever, and just give it a mix of old and new, and that's basically what we are trying to do with the music we make. It's like cover the old, just use old samples with new sounding synths, and just try and create something new out of it, basically. And these samples will just give us ideas, you know, and you just sort of get them down over the beats, and like, yeah, we'll try this and we'll try that, get some new synths in there, and try different bass sounds and whatever, you know, and just try to mix it up together.
Now, where does the name Solar come from? I mean, it suggests that you got the solution.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I was looking for a name. I've always wanted to run a record label, and it was like, I'd thought of a name and somebody had used the same name, so it was like, oh, I can't use that, and it was just, I don't know, it's because our music was, I'm not saying our music's soulful, but it had like elements of sort of like samples or whatever from soul music in there, and I wanted it to be separated. I didn't want it to look like the usual drum and bass futuristic spaceship kind of techno name kind of thing, you know what I mean? I wanted it to be a bit more thoughtful than that. Just a little bit more mature sounding, because they're trying to think the music we'd try and do is a little bit more mature sounding. So So I wanted to encompass the word soul, but I wanted it to still have that little drum and bass angle, so it was a case of putting a colon in the middle, an R. Does it stand for records? I don't know. Maybe it does. You know, I just thought it looked good. You know, that was basically the main thing.
It definitely looks good. Yeah.
Oh, it did the job. Yeah.
So you suggest that the way you produce music can be done in a very healthy way. You don't need any special chemical substances or
I've never tried it in the studio.
No?
No. Music's the one for me. I can hear something and I just hear it and it's just like, right, that's an influence to go and make this track. And actually, well, we're talking, I've got a track that, it's an old tune from years ago by a guy called Bobby Konders. This is like a classic acid house record from a club called the Haçienda. It used to get played at the Haçienda sort of every week, and it was like, wow, what the hell is this tune? And I managed to find it a good number of years ago. And I heard I went out to a club in Manchester called Sankey Soap about 6 months ago, and saw a DJ called Boggy, plays for God, sorry about this, my memory's pretty crap. James Holroyd plays for Bugged Out. That's quite a simple track in a way, but it just had it struck a profound memory at a certain place at a certain time that I'd not even thought about for a long time, and just the whole thing, just hearing that tune, just coming in the middle of a pretty sort of normal house techno set, and I just heard this drum, like, wow, I've not heard this for years, and it's more than anything, it was that drum roll. I remember from way back in the Haçienda, that drum roll come on, and it was a track that got played quite a lot, and just the whole crowd, as soon as they hear that drum roll, go absolutely mental, you know, and it's like, I just thought, right, drum rolls at the time were quite big in drum and bass, but it was just that particular style of drum roll that kind of gave me an idea for a tune. And it sounds nothing like Bobby Konders, you know. I mean, it wasn't meant to sound like him. It was just the idea of the drum roll give me an idea to make a tune. Yeah, the whole thing, basically, from hearing that tune, the Bobby Konders thing on a Friday night, getting into the studio on Monday, that thing was on that by about 7 o'clock on Tuesday evening. It was just, I just had an influence. It just woke something up inside me to want to do a track like that. There was like the Bobby Konders thing, and it just kind of made me hark back to certain nights at the Haçienda and certain types of music. And one of the biggest influences in my entire life has been like the Detroit techno scene. And one particular producer, Kevin Saunderson, just used to use a lot of portamento on his bass patterns and stuff. And it was just like, right, we'll do a little portamento thing, and it was just all because of hearing that one tune. We'd written that in basically 12 hours, you know. It was just like kind of really simple. And I know for a fact that the previous 6 weeks until I did that, we'd done nothing. We'd come up with nothing, literally nothing, you know. And it just goes to show it's just one thing can just spark something off, create this thing inside you that you're just like, right, we did it, you know. It was just easy. That tune was one of the easiest tunes I've ever had to make, you know. When we look at well-known, successful DJs, that they also might have the moments of real depression, moments where they feel really down. It's like anything. What goes up at some point has got to be down, you know what I mean? And just the amount of time I spend travelling and having a good time and being at these gigs that are amazing, you know what I mean? There's got to be lows, you know. It can't be great all the time, you know what I mean? It's good most of the time, but at the same time, I know why I'm here. I know why I'm here because I make music that people think's good, you know what I mean? So I know that to keep myself in that same position, and if not get better, then I've got to be still producing good music, you know what I mean? And when it gets hard because you're really tired, and when you haven't made anything you like for a few months, you know what I mean? It changes your persona. You don't feel as confident or whatever because you've not made any good music for a while. It really gets to me, you know what I mean? But I kind of like it that way because it keeps me fighting, and I keep striving to be better all the time, you know what I mean? And I know that's the most important thing is the music we make, because that's the reason why I'm here now is because of that, you know. That's the way. Okay, maybe that's a good point to come to the practical advice from a successful DJ to people who will be successful DJs one day. Up to you.
to ask Marcus Intalex what you would like to know, the do's and don'ts of the business.
I want to know, how long did it take you from when you started producing until you made a tune that you were happy with? And also, what do you wish that you had known then that you know now about producing?
We were really lucky, to be honest with you. The first tune we ever made, which we made in 2 nights with L Double, it's the first time I'd ever been into the studio. Basically what L Double, who had a lot of previous studio experience, said to us, bring some samples. We worked in a record shop, so we had an abundance of samples, and latest Mary J. Blige 12 had just come out with an a cappella on it. So that's me to sample, let's take it there. And we wrote a track in 2 nights, based upon this sample, based upon a little keyboard thing he had with some wicked little sounds on it and stuff, and just managed to play this pattern in that went with a vocal. And we made this track that my hero, Groove Rider, said it's the best tune he's heard in 2 years, and that's the first tune we've ever made. And it kind of put us on the map, but at the same time it then put pressure on us to deliver. And we kind of set our own studio up, and we found it really difficult. At the beginning it was kind of easy because we had loads of ideas and we were just in there and we knew a little bit about it, so we produced a couple of tracks that we were reasonably happy with and did okay. But as the music progressed and become more difficult to make, more technologically advanced, or more technical is the word I was looking for 3 years we struggled to get a sound that we were happy with, and just to learn. You've got so much to learn, and one of the most important things about music, about making dance floor music, is the production's got to be pretty good. It's got to be of a good standard, especially more so these days because a lot of it is of a really good standard.